Tonight, new details about the high-stakes trade discussions between Canada and the U.S. The direct, high-level talks.
Trump and Carney are talking. Are you any closer to reaching a deal? How would you describe those discussions?
Guys, do you really think I'll answer that question?
And the persistent calls for Ottawa to punch back. From friends to foes.
Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore.
A simmering feud explodes into an extraordinary public brawl, tanking Elon Musk's Tesla stock. Torn between relief and anguish over the recovered remains of a Canadian-Israeli hostage.
It's a very painful moment, but also a moment of closure.
Plus, spotlighting the dark side of a toxic online trend, pressuring young men to have picture-perfect looks. And the power of philanthropy.
He and his team saved my father's life. And for that, my family will be forever grateful.
How a deeply personal donation is transforming cardiac care for patients and attracting top doctors.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. The man who was once one of Donald Trump's closest confidants took another series of public shots at the U.S. president today, part of a stunning and remarkable implosion of a relationship that appears increasingly unsalvageable. Elon Musk also blasting Trump's tariff policy today. On the same day, new revelations emerged about the Canada-U.S. trade talks. We'll get to the clash in a moment, but we begin with those new details on the negotiations. And CTV's Rachel Aiello.
Are you any closer to reaching a deal? How would you describe those discussions?
Guys, do you really think I'll answer that question? No.
The government is keeping tight-lipped about what appear to be intensifying trade talks with the U.S.
It's not fair.
Officials on both sides confirmed today that Prime Minister Mark Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump are in direct communication.
We'll let the Prime Minister do his work.
In a statement, a U.S. Embassy official confirmed there are ongoing conversations, but this is not something that will be negotiated in public, though it appears the Prime Minister is keeping premiers apprised of the negotiations.
I know he's in deep discussions right now.
But while those talks transpire, pressure is mounting on Ottawa to retaliate for Trump's doubling of tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum.
The ideal situation is to get a deal, and if that deal does not happen in the next few days, then we have to slap another 25% tariff.
That was also the message steel company CEOs and union workers brought to Parliament Hill today. Trump's latest trade action has effectively blocked these Canadian-made metals from affordably entering the U.S. market. And the sector wants Ottawa to stem the flow of cheaper foreign steel being dumped into Canada. But after her closed-door conversation with stakeholders, the industry minister was non-committal.
A lot of the conversation was about how we can make sure that we protect our domestic market, and we're working on solutions. That's why the industry and myself will continue to engage in the coming hours and days.
The co-chair of the All-Party Steel Caucus said today that Jolie will be traveling to Sault Ste. Marie and Hamilton to hear directly from the workers and communities that are being impacted. Omar?
All right, Rachel, thank you. We also got a hard look today at exactly how those tariffs are hitting Canadian businesses and the economy. CTV's John Venveli-Rao on the crushing impact.
When it comes to comparing how much merchandise was brought into Canada versus exported out last month, the difference has never been so stark, with that trade deficit growing to just over $7 billion in April, compared to just over $2 billion in March, reflecting in large part a plunge in overall exports being sent to the U.S., which tumbled nearly 16% month over month.
We're looking right at the heart of the storm of tariffs, and they showed a huge drop in our exports.
The fallout from the slew of tariffs imposed by the U.S. president on cars, steel, aluminum, and other items was just partly to blame for the drop in exports. So too was the flood of goods that poured into the U.S. ahead of the tariffs, which built up inventories. Exports of autos to the U.S. falling 23% in April, while exports of consumer goods fell 15%.
These are fully automatic machines.
Toronto-based Ultraform Manufacturing makes components for auto parts and has seen such a drop in demand, its employees have had to switch to work sharing, for now at least avoiding layoffs.
So we definitely had a drop of almost 35% in our business.
The value of energy exports also dropped, but that was due to lower oil prices, while overall exports fell to their lowest level in 2 years. And some expect things to continue to deteriorate, with pressure mounting to reach a trade deal and companies looking for certainty.
Hopefully we can get back to an agreement that is respected by both countries, and so that companies know the rules of the game.
If there was a silver lining, it was that Canadian exports to countries outside of the U.S. did grow by about 3%, which could reflect efforts to better broaden export markets. John Benavalli-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
Donald Trump is also in a major trade battle with China, but today had what he described as a very good call with the Chinese president. Trump saying that after the conversation with Xi Jinping, the two agreed to meet for more trade talks, though a date has not been nailed down. Beijing made it clear that it was Trump who requested the call with Xi. Now to that shattered alliance we told you about between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. The high-profile split sinking Musk's Tesla stock today. By the time markets closed, wiping out about 14% of the company's value, representing more than $150 billion. Trump today suggesting the government could cut government funding for Musk's space exploration companies, and Musk suggesting that Trump is in the so-called Epstein files. CTV's Washington bureau chief Joy Malbin on the fallout from the breakup.
From getting the keys to the White House just last week.
Thank you, Elon.
Thank you.
Take care.
To a very ugly and public breakup.
Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we will anymore.
President Donald Trump put billionaire Elon Musk in charge of slashing waste in the federal government. But when Musk began bashing the president's legacy tax cut spending bill, Trump declared it was over.
I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill. Elon's upset because we took the EV mandate and, which was a lot of money for electric vehicles.
Musk was watching and hit back in real time. The Tesla CEO said false. This bill was never shown to me. Posting on X, without me, Trump would have lost the election. Such ingratitude. Musk donated nearly $300 million to Trump's campaign. He was in every cabinet meeting. Their war of words exploding as Musk dropped this bombshell without any evidence, accusing Trump of being in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they've not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile accused of sex trafficking and died in prison. Trump shot back, threatening to cut billions of dollars in government contracts to Musk's empire from SpaceX, Starlink, and Tesla.
He's not the first. People leave my administration. Some of them embrace it, and some of them actually become hostile. I don't know what it is. It's sort of Trump derangement syndrome.
The billionaire took aim, saying Trump's tariffs will cause a recession, agreeing with followers who said the president should be impeached. Once a Trump ally, no love lost now between the president and the world's richest man. Their fallout, just a stunning public breakup. Omar?
All right, Joy, thank you. Back here at home, an infant who contracted measles before birth has died in Ontario. The first death linked to the virus this year in Canada.
We've had measles vaccine in Canada and around the world for almost 5 decades. And yet we still have individuals who, for many different reasons, are choosing not to get vaccinated.
The baby born prematurely was infected with measles from its mother, who was unvaccinated. The province's top doctor says the child also had other serious medical complications. It happened in an area of southwestern Ontario considered to be high risk because of low vaccination rates. The remains of a Canadian-Israeli hostage and her husband held by Hamas have been recovered in a special operation, according to Israel's Prime Minister. CTV's Abigail Beeman on how they are being remembered.
Hello, this is Judy speaking from Kibbutz Nir Oz.
Judy Weinstein-Haggai's voice still carries on her YouTube channel of poetry and teaching. She and her husband, Gadi Haggai, were among the first to be captured by terrorists and murdered in the October 7th attack while out for a walk. The Israeli Prime Minister says their bodies were recovered in a special operation by the IDF. My beautiful parents have been freed, wrote their daughter on social media. we have certainty.
There were 8 Canadian Israeli victims that on that day.
Judy was the last missing Canadian hostage. The Israeli ambassador describes the last 607 days as agonizing.
A wonderful person who was really mindful of everybody around her. And it's so sad to know that their lives ended in such a tragic way.
There are still 56 hostages held by Hamas, with at least 20 believed to be alive.
The return of their bodies, over 600 days too late, is the starkest possible reminder that Israel has a huge moral and national, spiritual responsibility to get all of the hostages home.
With Judy's own wishes for peace, a testament to her legacy.
May we all be granted the right to our basic rights of home, food, shelter, and peaceful days. Here's hoping.
Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
At least 5 people have been killed in an Israeli strike on a hospital in Gaza City, according to the church that runs the facility. 3 journalists were among those killed. The Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem condemned the attack, while the Palestinian Journalist Syndicate accused Israel of, quote, a full-fledged war crime. The Israeli military claims it struck a fighter from a group called Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Saskatchewan's premier is facing growing calls to request military assistance as flames from wildfires continue to devour structures and displace thousands.
It does not make sense to me why this call hasn't already been made.
The Premier's office says the urgent need is for water bombers and firefighting resources, which the military cannot provide. The province, under a state of emergency, is battling more than 24 fires with assistance from other provinces and the U.S. More than 30,000 people have been evacuated from Saskatchewan and Manitoba so far. And across the country, there are more than 200 active wildfires. More than 24 of those fires are burning across Manitoba, the other province that has declared a state of emergency and has called in the military for help. And while weather conditions are improving, as CTV's Alex Carper reports, the fight is far from over.
An out-of-control wildfire near Flin Flon and Sheridan have now combined into one.
This fire came from Saskatchewan and is over 307,000 hectares on the Manitoba side.
It's now become the largest of the 27 wildfires currently burning in the province. The Manitoba government says progress is being made in the Northern First Nations communities thanks to favorable conditions in the past couple of days.
We have had cooler temperatures, a little bit higher humidity. Winds generally have been fairly low to moderate. We are expecting that general trend to continue.
Manitoba remains in a state of emergency. Approximately 18,000 people from over 7,100 households have registered as evacuees with the Canadian Red Cross. More than 650 firefighters have been deployed right across the province to fight these fires, including 175 firefighters from the United States and out of province. And there are more than 57 aircraft currently being used in communities battling fires. As more help comes, some are feeling left out.
It makes no sense at all.
Daryl Hedman is a retired Manitoba conservation manager with fire expertise. He says he and other retirees have offered to help in the battle, but have been ignored.
I'm told to no, we don't need you at this time, or any of the retired staff at this time. They have it under control.
The province acknowledges they have received interest from individuals like Hedman and are considering accepting help from former fire officials on a case-by-case basis. Alex Carpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
And this is what it looked like in Chicago today, which currently has some of the worst air quality in the world these days because of wildfire smoke pushing down from Canada. The smoke also drawing a hazy curtain over several other cities, including Kansas City, Minneapolis, and New York, leading to multiple advisories. A Toronto school named after Marc Garno remembered Canada's first astronaut in space today as a trailblazer and an inspiration.
The way he explained how science is all about service really inspired me to want to go into aerospace engineering.
I asked him if he had any tips for anyone trying to go into the space sector, and he said to really just have a passion for what you want to do.
The former cabinet minister visited Mark Garno Collegiate Institute many times, and as recently as last June. A large model of the Challenger space shuttle from Garno's first trip to space hangs in the main hallway. Flags have been lowered to half-mast in his honor. He died yesterday after a brief illness at the age of 76. A Canadian man who U.S. officials say once trained with Al-Qaeda and met Osama bin Laden has been arrested in Montreal. He was deported to Canada in 2010 after serving a U.S. prison sentence. The RCMP says the 51-year-old was charged with uttering death threats after he allegedly told an employee with a group fighting homelessness he intended to commit an attack with the goal of killing a large number of people. Also in Montreal, authorities have made a series of arrests and extortion crimes targeting restaurants and bars that are happening just as the busy tourist season starts to ramp up, with Grand Prix heading to the city next week. CTV's Geneviève Beauchemin has the story.
Investigators in Montreal triggered a major police operation. 150 officers conducting raids, seizing cash, firearms, and arresting 13 suspects. This week's after restaurant and bar owners sent a letter to the Quebec government and the chief of police demanding action against extortion.
Extortion was always there, but not like that. This is extreme violence.
The modus operandi is well known and international. Gangs threaten business owners and demand cash in return for protection. When the restaurant or bar doesn't pay up, it gets vandalized, firebombed, or shot at. Montreal police have visited more than 800 businesses, warning owners not to pay, to call them instead.
They're buying the peace, but trust me, they're not buying the peace. It's gonna get worse, and they're gonna make you pay until the end of your day.
But in recent weeks, some attacks hitting restaurants and bars have raised alarm. In this one last week, a cafe's windows were smashed. 6 suspects appear to set a fire. At least one fleeing the scene is burning. Police suspect they may have gotten the wrong address, that the target may have been the resto bar next door. The owner, who did not want to be identified, is devastated.
You see the stuff in the south of Italy where they'll put a bomb in your shop and blow it up.
Experts say extortion happens in most Canadian cities, and that's been so for generations. But organized crime in Montreal has changed. The city was once controlled by bikers and Italian groups. Now several street gangs are fighting for a share.
The violence occurs before the threats.
But police also say the operation they conducted is evidence that when acts of intimidation are brought to their attention, they can deliver blows against those responsible. The city says that while these reports are concerning, Montreal is safe, and police say they are on the case. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
A new online trend among young men is raising concerns about body image and mental health. It's called looks maxing. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth tells us what it is and why it's causing concern.
Looks maxing is a relatively new term that refers mostly to men looking to maximize their physical appearance.
To reap the benefits that they see of being more attractive, so better outcomes in education, better outcomes in employment, but particularly to be more appealing on the heterosexual dating market.
In a new study, Dalhousie University researchers examined thousands of comments on social media. Some looks maxing practices appear harmless, like one called mewing.
That's pressing the tip of your tongue against the roof of your mouth to make your jaw more masculine.
But in other cases, the research found growing numbers of men are encouraged to go on strict diets, over-exercise, or even undergo surgical procedures to alter their bodies. Some become demoralized, which can lead to unhealthy behaviors, including self-harm. All part of participating in the online community known as the manosphere.
So the manosphere started a number of years ago because men felt that they have lost a place in society. So it leads to this idea of toxic masculinity, and you've got to look after yourself.
The study also found part of the reason why looks maxing has grown as an online trend, men consider other men honest evaluators of their physical appearance.
It's this reflection of what women have had to go through for centuries. And now men are being put through it as well.
Awareness surrounding looks maxing comes at a time when TikTok recently blocked the Skinny Talk hashtag due to unhealthy weight loss content posted on the platform. Experts warn these online trends can fuel insecurity, obsessive behavior, and unrealistic beauty standards. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
At a time when charitable donations are declining in Canada, one gift to British Columbia's largest hospital is getting a lot of attention. Not only is it historic, it's inspired by a deeply personal connection that could revolutionize cardiac care. CTV's Andrew Johnson explains.
We're going to talk as a team, and then we're going to get you done right now.
Dr. David Wood is all about thinking big to help more patients faster and get them out of the hospital into recovery sooner.
About 20 minutes to fix the heart, and then you'll be out of the room in under an hour, okay?
And now, thanks to a massive gift, Vancouver General Hospital's head of cardiology says he has just what he needs.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Wood is leading the team designing a new cardiovascular institute thanks to a $60 million donation from the Delari Foundation. The Delaris, behind Canada's largest automotive group, were moved to give back after their father received care from Dr. Wood's team.
He and his team saved my father's life, and for that, my family will be forever grateful. We were compelled to pay that gratitude forward.
They approached Wood, who has now spent years assembling a team to lead what he says will become the Mayo Clinic of the North.
The idea that a family like the Delari family would just say, dream big. And here is not only money for a new tower, which will be a state-of-the-art outpatient cardiovascular tower, but here's a $25 million innovation fund. Fix the system, make the system better for patients.
He says the money is already being put to work, recruiting top talent Dr. Wood says is leaving the United States over the policies of President Trump.
The infrastructure to support research, and I feel very bad for some of my colleagues across the border, has completely changed.
Wood predicts America's loss will be Canada's gain.
We've recruited some of the best and brightest minds in cardiovascular medicine in the world, including from the United States.
The plan is to break ground on the Delari Cardiovascular Institute in 2027. Excitement over what the future could hold for Canadian heart patients is already well underway. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
And that's a snapshot of this Thursday. Heather will be here tomorrow. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching, and good night.